Today's video is about two of the biggest mistakes I see in strength training programming. The two things that usually hold you back from hitting your strength goals. Okay, and the big one's gonna come up in the second half of this video, but I actually kind of ran into a bonus one I wasn't even planning on discussing until it kind of popped up for myself this week. And that is missing training while peaking. So last month you saw me hit a successful 602-pound squat, 650 deadlift, and that was after an 8-week long peak with my own program. And I followed it to the T. Every single day I was in the gym hitting exactly what I needed to hit, didn't miss a beat. Well, I started doing that again and everything was going really well. About 3 weeks ago you saw me hitting a 545, a 545-pound squat on Instagram. And it flew nicely. And that was based on my new percentages from the 602-pound squat. So that was equivalent to me hitting 525 during my last peak. And it moved beautifully. But then some things popped up. I had to head up to New Hampshire and take care of my grandparents, which I'm very happy to do. I loved being able to be up there with them and be around them and spend that time with them. So I'm not complaining. The gym will always be there. But as a result, I ended up missing 2 weeks worth of solid squat training. I tried getting into the gym one of those days on basically no sleep. I was pulling close to all-nighters every night, and I retook 545 again, and it moved much harder this time. And then so today I was aiming to hit 6 plates, 585 pounds, which I believe is 265.5 kilos off the top of my head. It should say it on the screen if I'm misdoing my math. And I could just feel, man, the strength wasn't there. I didn't feel primed and peaked. So we went for it today, and feeling out the warm-ups, I knew I could do it today, but I knew it was gonna feel like death. Like I basically knew it was gonna be feeling like a max today, even though it's almost 20 pounds less than my actual max. And that's okay. So I decided to get that in today just because I wanted to, and I think I'm done trying to peak my squat. What I'm gonna do is just finish out this 8-week program. I only have 1 week left to go with the rest of my lifts, like deadlifts and such. And then I'm just gonna wait to restart it for my squats, throwing in the towel on squats. And that brings me to my first problem that people usually run into that I wanted to address. I get people messaging me a lot in my program saying, hey, I ran into A, B, C, and D. I couldn't make the gym this week. Should I restart? The answer is always yes. If you miss a week of training, even if you miss just a couple of days, even sometimes just a day of training during a peak, depending on where you are in your peak, usually it's gonna throw you right off because each and every day is an accumulation of volume and intensity. And it's a specified amount of frequency that your body needs to continue adapting to that weight and get stronger and get your central nervous system more and more prepared to handle heavier weight. So if you guys are peaking, I'm not talking about just regular training. If you're in the off season and you're just doing regular training blocks, just some hypertrophy stuff, building strength, that's okay. That's a lot more forgiving. But if you are in the middle of peaking your strength and you miss several days, definitely a week, you're better off just restarting the programming, and today proved it. So 585, which is probably about 95% of my max. I didn't do the math. That ended up moving harder, or slower, I should say, than my actual max did. You know, so the peak got thrown off. My body's not prepared. My CNS is not prepared anymore. And that's okay. So we're just gonna throw in the towel here with squats. We're just gonna restart the programming of them. I'm not gonna try and go even heavier next week. Not the best rep, but hey, still moved it. Post-workout nutrition before we get into the final mistake everyone makes with programming and training. Doing a scoop of whey protein and both of these before I have my real solid meal. So This one is an immune support multivitamin. All your vitamins, A through E, plus all your minerals, zinc, magnesium, all that great stuff with liposomal, which makes it more bioavailable. So it makes it so you take in and utilize all of the vitamins and minerals in here. None of it gets wasted. And then this is stacked with it. This is just an herbal immune support complex. So this is all natural herbs. And this is fantastic for like anti-inflammation, antioxidants, and they're really cheap too. Both of these I got off Amazon. I'll put the Amazon links below for you guys if you want them. Each bottle is about $7 and change. They're a little more expensive by default, but each one of these bottles has a box you can check on Amazon that automatically chops a price percentage off for you. It's a coupon box. And then you add it to your cart, and if you use their code FRESH010, it chops off another big percentage for you, and it brings each bottle down to $7 and change for a month's supply, which is awesome. So I'll take a serving of each of these with the shake, and then I'll make my solid meal. Link and discount code for both of these in the info box below. Don't forget to check off that little coupon box in Amazon once you open up these links. And the real meal after I showered off, it's gonna be barbecue chicken. This is boneless skinless chicken breast with cheese melted on it. Just enough barbecue sauce mixed with the slow cooking of the chicken via crock pot to make it feel like you're eating at a real barbecue. If you just use your imagination and have a non-refined palate like me. And then some oatmeal, baby! We're good to go. Wow, look how good her lunch looks. That's a special burger from New York System Wieners too, which means it's really good.
Oh, it's amazing. The last one too. We're out after this.
I can't even concentrate on what
It's all right. Oatmeal is so much better than a burger decked out.
Yeah, so no one ever.
And the second biggest mistake I see in training, the one I was originally making this video based upon, is lying to yourself about what your actual max is and then basing your training percentages off of that max. So let me back up for a second. What am I talking about? When we do proper strength programming, we usually use percentages. We can sometimes use RPE. Usually though, it's a combination of both percentages and RPE. For an example, if my max is a 600-pound squat, that's my max, right? When I go back to training, I'm gonna base all my percentages off of 600 pounds. So if I have a week where I'm using 50% of my squat max, that's gonna be 50% of 600 pounds. So it's gonna be 300 pounds for that workout. What you never want to do is base your training percentages off of a number that is higher than your current max just because you believe you are good to hit that number at the end of your peak. And I've done this. I've made this mistake myself, and I've seen a lot of you make it. I've had DMs from people that are running my program asking me if I think it's okay for them to do this, and the answer is always no. This actually happened to me. I'll give you a real example. A while back, right before quarantine, my max squat was 585, and it had been 585 for a while. I knew I was good for 600 pounds. I knew the strength was there, I was ready, I just needed to peak for it and finally execute it, right? So what I did is I ran my program, my 8-week peaking program, and instead of basing my percentages off of 585, my actual max, I lied to myself. I based them all off of 600 pounds. And my thinking, my logic kind of made sense at the time on paper. My thinking was, well, if I am actually strong enough to squat 600 pounds for a max, if that is actually what my max is now, then all the percentages of 600 pounds should feel appropriate. In other words, 85% of 600 pounds should move like 85% of my max now, if I'm certain that 600 pounds is what my actual max is. So I did that. I went and programmed my entire 8-week program, and I based all my percentages off of a 600-pound squat max, even though I had not yet hit it. I was just so certain I was going to hit it. I knew it was there, so I figured the percentages would be there as well. What ends up happening almost 100% of the time though is that the percentages do not feel accurate. When you finally get to 85% of your max and you're basing it on a max that's actually higher than what your real max is, that 85% is gonna feel and move more like 90%. It happens every single time. It happened to me. I got to, I think, week 6 and I had to throw in the towel because weight, that was like 77% of my max for a 4x4, was moving horribly. I mean, it was grinderish. It was moving like it was 85% of my max. See, the problem is your max is your max. That is the maximum of weight you can move. That's your threshold for strength. So to get stronger, you have to allow your body to adapt to that weight. You have to let your body get familiar with that weight and get familiar with the percentages of that weight and adapt to it. Your body can only adapt by getting familiar with that weight. So you have to get familiar with that weight. Eventually your body will adapt. that weight becomes less and less heavy feeling for your body because it's adapting to it, it's getting used to it. And only then, once it's adapted, then you can jump up into a heavier weight. Only then are you ready to increase your max because you've actually adapted to the weight and you've gained strength. And you've made that weight feel like a whole lot less weight now because you've adapted to it. You do this by getting underweight repetitively. So if your max is 585 and you have to work with 50% of your max that day, don't jump up to 300 pounds. That's not 50% of your max. Stay at 292 pounds, 292 and a half pounds. That's 50%. Work with that. What's gonna end up happening is if you really are adapting and you really are elevating and you really are getting ready to squat a heavier max, that 50% is gonna feel lighter and lighter. That 50% is gonna feel more like 47% for you. Maybe even 45% if you're really getting ready for a heavier jump. But you need to give yourself time to adapt. So you have to run through those numbers. And that's what I did on my last peak. When I finally hit that 602 squat, I based everything off of 585. And all my percentages felt great. They felt still heavy enough to be work. Every time I went in for those singles, if it was 80%, 85, 90%, it still felt heavy. I needed to respect it. It felt like a heavy single. But upon doing that heavy single and then doing the heavy reps with the appropriate percentage, I was able to move that weight easier and easier and easier. There was no struggle. There was no slight grind going in there because it was definitely the percentage that it was supposed to be. And then it was slowly getting lighter and lighter as I was adapting to it and getting used to it. So finally, when test day came, I was ready. So I can't stress this enough, guys. Never base your programming off of a goal max that you have. Always base it on a real max, no matter how outdated that max is. If you really are ready to go to a heavier weight, great. Every one of your workouts is gonna fucking fly. It's gonna feel like butter. That's excellent. The more you can leave in the tank, the better you feel leaving the gym, the more fresh and ready to go and ready to move more weight that you feel at the end of each session, the more ready you physically are to lift something brand new and super heavy at the end of that peaking cycle. The more you feel like you just used everything you had in your gas tank by the end of each workout, the more you're straining your body and not allowing it to actually adapt to that weight. And the less likely you are to hit an impressive PR. So that's the biggest, most simple fix I can recommend to you guys with programming. Always program based on your current max, no matter how old or outdated it is. Staying conservative, leaving some energy in the tank is always the smartest move. Never lie to yourself, never train based on a lie.